Hello everyone, this is Yakto, and here's my second part of the German heavy fighter slash bomber hunter series about the tech tree with all the weird heavy fighters. And this here is my sort of tips and advices about how you could use them as fighters in realistic battles. So what are we looking at today? We're gonna have a closer look at the Dornier N1 heavy fighter, the last of the Dornier 217 heavy fighter line, and then we're having a look at the Messerschmitt 410A1 U2 model, as well as the ME410A1 U4 model. I'm gonna skip this first ME410A1 model, as it is a ground attacker and not really a heavy fighter designed for taking out enemy airplanes or bombers, since it only has two MG-151 cannons and two light machine guns. It's not really suited for attacking airplanes. It also have a bomb loadout, so it's a ground attacker. I'm not gonna have a close look at it. So Dornier 217A1. What's the difference between this airplane and the previous Dornier 217's models in the tree? Well, it has a better armament of 20mm cannons, the MG-151s. If we compare it to the previous model, we can see that it has a 20mm MG FF-/M cannon, resulting in a slower rate of fire, and that gives this plane less burst mass per 1 second than the Dornier 217A1 N1, I mean. So yeah, and the ME410A1 U2 looks like this. It has 4 MG-151 20mm cannons, and as well as 2 light machine guns, all mounted in the nose, so it's a very dangerous opponent. And the ME410A1 U4 has the BK5 cannon, the 50mm cannon, as well as 2 MG-151 cannons, 20mm, as well mounted in the nose. So yeah, let's start out by having a close look at the Dornier 217A1 N1, I mean. The Dornier 217 N1, what is it good for? Well, hopefully this clip will show you what it's best for, and that is attacking medium and heavy bombers with a quick burst to the pilot canopy. However, it has some weaknesses, and that has mainly to do with the kind of bombers it goes up against. You should avoid at any cost coming in from behind when you attack the B-25 Mitchell bombers. While you may do the amount of damage that's needed to take them out, you will probably just come away burning from the encounter and ending up crashing eventually. strongly recommend you avoiding attacking any kind of bombers from behind with this fighter. Come from above, or from below, or from the side. That's also a viable option, as I'm doing here, coming from the side. And I end up behind them, which is, as you just saw, a very bad spot. But I'm lucky enough to get a critical hit in, and he's caught fire. And well, once a bomber is burning, that will probably lead to him crashing at some point or another. So yeah, set them on fire and leave them alone. The Dornier 217 N1, in comparison to the previous versions, the Dornier J1, which I absolutely love. It's a great plane. This model doesn't really separate itself from the J1 model as much. It's only a matter of an upgrade of cannons. It still handles the same way. It's very mobile. It's good, as you can see here. It fills the role as ground attacker quite nicely. You can load out the plane with bombs if you wish. It can carry 8 50 kilo bombs, and that makes it able to take out tanks and perhaps a light pillbox or two with a well-aimed bomb. The main drawbacks when it comes to this plane is the matchmaking it gets. You will often go up against fighters and sometimes even bombers that will be faster than you and will climb better than you do, because this plane is quite a slow climber. It has a climb rate with a meager 6.9 meters per second, and considering the fact that it also starts on the ground, makes it quite it makes it a big project to get up and to a good starting position for attacking medium and heavy bombers. It will take you a while to get up there, but it's doable. But as I said, the previous models get more generous matchmaking due to their less effective armament. So if you want to have good games, you might as well stick with those models, I believe. But this is still a great airplane. It's just a bit trickier to fly, and I had some problems getting good footage with it. Anyway, over to the next airplane, the Messerschmitt 410 A1U2 model. What is this plane good for? Well, more or less the same thing. Attacking medium bombers, coming in at pretty high speeds, getting a quick bursts off and then breaking off, trying not to get damaged too much when you pass the medium bombers. You can see here I get that bombers get some good strafes in on the plane, and I eventually ends up stalling out from the damage because I had a pretty hard time turning the plane. But this plane is a good plane for tanking damage, if you can say that. It can fly with, like all the ME-410s, it can fly with almost severe damage to the fuselage and the engines. It can actually get around with only one engine without much problems. So that's cool. You will see more of that later. So there I got a lucky strafe in on that B-25. I often play these Me-410s as opportunistic bomber hunters. I try to help my team by attacking medium and heavy bombers, and if I get the opportunity I engage fighters as well, but I don't try to dogfight with these planes because they're too slow. Not slow, but they're heavy, and their turning rate is slow, and they climb slow, so you can't really go into the vertical unless you have a great advantage over the enemy. And well, I stick to the bombers, and as you can see, that's something that this plane does. But as you can see here, once I've dealt some damage to some enemy B-25s, I quickly get company. So you need to be aware of your surroundings and try to have fighter cover above you to be able to make it through a whole game. Like there, I got some help from a friendly Focke-Wulf who swooped down to kill that Thunderbolt, luckily. However, this plane actually has some good defensive armament sitting in the back, some two 13 millimeter machine guns. And here you can see, as I was talking about earlier on, that this plane can actually fly with only one engine, and it's almost totally red, but it can still land without much of problems. You need to be careful, that's all. So it's a good plane for taking damage. And you will take a lot of damage in the Me-410s if you hunt bombers. And that's not the only problem with hunting heavy and medium bombers like this airplane is supposed to do. As you can see here, I'm chasing this B-17, and he has the altitude advantage, and I was actually climbing up to catch him, and I'm having a huge problem catching up to this guy. Even though I'm using war emergence power, he's still faster than me, and it's not until I'm lucky enough that he turns when I'm able to catch him. So that's a big problem with this plane, seeing its battle rating. It's so high, it's at 4.3. That makes the plane, I don't know if I should say over battle rated, but it certainly gets hard for this plane to catch some enemy bombers, especially the B-17, because that plane is fast if it's fully upgraded. Another problem at this battle rank 4.3 is that you're probably gonna face some very fast and very good fighters like the Mustang and the Yaks, the different variants of the Yaks, and some Japanese fighters who are all very fast, and they will catch you and you can't outrun them like you can in, for example, the Dornier 217 YA1 and YA2 models. Here you face opposition that can easily shoot you down, but your main defensive advantage is that you can actually take a lot of damage and still get home to base, so use that. And aim for the enemy bombers' engines and set them on fire. That will kill them. Another flaw with this airplane is that if you come in at a steep angle while attacking an enemy, as we will see very soon here. Here I dive down on that Spitfire. I'm trying to save my teammate, and what happens is that the plane sort of freezes up. It gets very hard to maneuver while in dive like this, and it throws off the aim easily, you know. He didn't even try to evade my incoming attack. He didn't see me, so I just had a huge problem pointing the guns at him. So you need to watch out for that. You can't dive in at a too steep angle on your enemy. However, if you take care to bleed off speed using your air brakes, or to take wide turns down on your enemy, it will be a lot easier to aim. Given this plane's roll rate is quite good. So like there, where I could roll in and get the aim right and take out the Tempest. So that's all for the ME410A1U2. Let's go over to the ME410A1U4 with the 50mm gun. As you see here. And how is this plane to fly? Well, before a few patches ago, when this plane got 2 additional 20mm guns, it was a sort of I don't know. It was fun to fly, but you only had 21 shots. Once you run out of your 21 rounds, you had to go back to refill your ammo, and once you did that, the match was all over. But now you also have these 2 20mm guns. So if you run out of ammo for the big gun, you can still stay in the fight. And as you can see here, this plane is very capable of taking out any kind of bomber that you will come across, if your aim is right. And it takes some getting used to, but once you get used to it, how to aim with this 50mm BK5 gun, it's great. And it's always a good laugh flying this plane. Not many people do, but those who do and get good at flying these planes are very dangerous for any enemy bomber player, or like here, the B-17 bot formation over Battle of the Bulge. Like I said, it takes some aiming practice for this gun to work. You can see there I missed 3 shots, but the 4th shot it's a hit, and then the 5th shot just tears the plane in 2. And most B-17 players flies just like this. They go in straight lines, so you can easily take them out. Like here, I took out the rudder, and with the next shot I took out the aileron, and then with the 3rd shot I took off the tail. If that would have been an enemy player, he would have been furious seeing his B-17 go into pieces. Having said that, you should never enter a dogfight with an enemy fighter in this plane, because, you know, maybe 1 shot out of, I don't know, 50 will hit the enemy fighter with this 50mm cannon, unless you're an expert marksman at shooting with this gun. But it's very hard, and sometimes even if you get a hit in, you get a glancing hit, or it doesn't register, or something like that. So what you will end up doing if you go into a dogfight is something like this. You will sooner or later get the fighter on your 6th, and you will have to defend yourself with the rear gunner and his 2 13mm heavy machine guns. And as you can see here, it wasn't all too bad. It was quite capable of defending itself, but it's an unnecessary risk that you shouldn't take. So, it's good for taking out enemy bots, enemy B-17 bots, but how about enemy B-17 players? Can this ME410 take out those as well? Well, here's a game over Sicily where I just saw all the other fighters started on the ground, so you need to prepare yourself and climb a lot to get to an altitude where the enemy bombers are. They often start at a higher altitude than you, so they have the advantage from the start. And here I had spent maybe the first 5 or 6 minutes of the game climbing up to an altitude where the bombers might be, and luckily I spotted this B-17, and I said in the chat, please leave him alone because I will take him out with one shot. And I said that not because I was greedy and wanted to kill for myself. I said it because I know that enemy fighters who go up against the B-17, they suffer critical damage easily, or they even get shot down or is set ablaze by the B-17's defensive gunners. So the ME410, especially this model with the 50mm gun, is a more it's a better weapon to use against those heavy bombers. So I try to stay out of range for the enemy fighters to get to the B-17 without being noticed, but that was more or less impossible. So I counted on my teammates to give me cover. Should have been attacked. Luckily I wasn't until later on in the game. And later on in the game I spot this B-17 trying to bomb out some ground pillboxes and strafing AAA and artillery. So I decided to dive in on him to take him out. And this is the kind of shot you want to have, this kind of deflection shot on the B-17, where he shows as much as possible of his wing surface area. But luckily I think that first round passed between the wing and the tail. And yeah, I missed the first few shots and then I get hit. I'm being stressed by this enemy fighter behind me, so I overshoot that B-17. I'm thinking, okay, if I can't take him down with my 50mm gun, I might just as well use the tail gunner. Just like the other 4 ME410, the A1U2 model, as we just said, saw before this one. This ME410 can also take a lot of beating. Like you can see here, my left engine is turning black, but I can still stay in behind this bomber and then damage him enough to kill him. And after that I get jumped by fighters who have somewhat of a hard time shooting me down. So yeah, you can take a lot of damage with this plane. You can have a lot of fun, so I strongly recommend it. Ends up with me getting a hit on that B-17's wing, and that's the end for him. Unluckily, that's the end for me as well. But I get my revenge later on in another game, where I decide to try out the ME410 as a fighter, and I get this opportunity for a shot on a Spitfire. Well, easy kill. If you hit with the 50mm, that's the result you're gonna get. So I hope this was entertaining and educational, and I'll soon be back with some more footage from the Type 4 heavy German fighter bomber hunters. So take care and see you soon.